The time has arrived. It's 5:30. I'll call this meeting of the Room Tax Commission to order for Tuesday, November 30, 2021. The record will show that we have a quorum of members of the commission present. Three items on our agenda tonight. First being discussion and possible action on approving payment to CVP for director recruiting costs. Director Grote, have this?
Yeah, so looking back at the actual minutes, the authorization was up to $5,000. We received the actual invoice from the CVB. The invoice came in at $9,200. And Rib Mountain and the city of Schofield are each paying $2,000. I know that they're in, looking at the actual tape, there was some discussion about whether you wanted it to be a specific amount and whether we wanted to limit it to exactly what other communities were paying. And there was no decision made on that. So up to $5,000, I thought we needed more guidance on that. So it's really for your decision of how you'd like to reimburse them.
Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. I think that we were of the mind when we had talked about that, just recognizing, where the lion's share of the room tax is generated and where the events are, largely occurring, that we would perhaps shoulder a little larger percentage of that recruitment cost. And I think that's why we approved up to the $5,000. Given the amount that was expended to locate the director, I would be comfortable with expending the $5,000.
Okay, does that come in the way of a motion?
Sure.
All right, we have a motion for $5,000 for recruiting costs. Do I have a second before we go on with more discussion?
For disclosure, I want to make it known that I was asked and appointed to back on the CVB board, Wausau CVB board, accepted that nomination and that was carried. So I am back on the board. So on some of those things that fund directly to that organization, we'll look for some guidance on when to vote and not to vote to fund that organization specifically.
Our conduct rules, if you will, for abstaining, at least on the council side, have always been that unless there is some direct personal, money type, award or other, benefit, personal benefit, then pretty much you are expected to vote.
Okay, perfect.
So,
I appreciate that guidance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So do I have a second on the motion?
I'll
I have a
second
second for Martins. Further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? That passes. Thank you. We might be done before the mayor has to leave. Number 2, discussion and possible action regarding additional room tax fund payment request from CVB. Director
Yep,
Grote?
so if you recall, we stopped paying the CVB after our fourth quarter of 2019 payment. So in 2020, we did not pay the CVB, nor in 2021. The Room Tax Commission and Common Council entered into agreement with the CVB effective 1/1 of 2022. The CVB is asking if we would be willing to distribute some of the room tax funds that would have gone to them in 2021. We did have a carryover of $153,000 from 2020 of room tax. In 2021, the room tax that is retained by the commission, so this is after the city has taken its share, would be $140,000. You did make some tourism grant awards this year, so you have funds committed of $63,770, which leaves a balance available for distribution of $229,839. I asked the executive director if they had a specific dollar amount in mind, and he suggested $150,000.
Okay. Director Grote, if you could address two things, maybe one, our statutory or state requirement, to how we handle funds with regards to a local tourism organization.
Sure.
And to your recommendation from your perspective.
So back when the law changed on room tax, basically the city was grandfathered in to keep a certain percentage of our room tax, and you have kind of an either or. You can look at how much you contributed, I think it's back in 2010 now, or a certain percentage, and it's to our advantage to keep what we kept in 2010. So it's like 443,000. So once we've collected that 443, then the rest of it really is under the Room Tax Commission's jurisdiction. Typically, we're collecting, in excess of $900,000 in room tax a year, and our agreement with the commission has us paying them 37.5% of the room tax we collect. And so, I have no problem, distributing 150,000 of those room tax. If we had been in a contract with them, we would have likely distributed funds. And like I said, you didn't enter into a contract until 1/1 of 2022. Obviously, we still are receiving benefits for the work that they do, and as our hotels are too.
Very good, thank you. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. Recognizing that we are reentering a relationship and rebuilding a little bit of a relationship with CVB, historically, we have always wanted room tax to be used for generation of more room nights. Heads and beds basically is the term that we like to use. We also have been of the mind that we did not want to expend room tax dollars for what we would consider to be overhead or management. That said, though, there is somewhat of a rebuilding process taking place within the CVB to rise up and create the type of institution that we want to see there. And so knowing that talent is key and marketing and website development is part of this request, according to Mary Ann's memo, I have received, based on the condition and the operation of their old website, their current website, I have received over the years a number of complaints from businesses and innkeepers about just the navigability and the content and the timeliness of that site. If any of this can redevelop that and solve that problem so that when people queue up Wausau, Wisconsin, or the Wausau area and see something that, like brings them in, that really wasn't the case before. So, that said, I think it would be prudent for us to hear from the new director and meet him. He can talk to us a little bit about his plans, and I think that would help us make an educated decision about the disbursement. So
Thank you. I would add, we would really appreciate and pretty much expect a clear accounting of, how funds are expended, because it's in our interest to feel that it's being done judiciously and effectively. I constantly talk to other groups when the subject comes up of redoing a website, getting it updated and whatnot. And my stock response is always, well, that's fine. It's okay to spend a little bit of money on redoing your website, update it, that kind of thing. But the real deal is going to be in social media, where you're going to have a much more frequent and engaging opportunity with your audience. People tend to go there way more than they go to websites. Websites tend to be static and not very timely, and more of an archive than anything else. Whereas social media and talking, things like Facebook, et cetera, where you can have numerous posts on a regular basis. What's happening today? What's happening tomorrow? And building up relationships with people where they like you and you like them, and you're talking back and forth. That's where I'd really be interested to see what the plan is for social media going forward. So, Director, would you like to come up and introduce yourself to us and address this a little bit?
Yes, I would. Those are all great questions. I want to hand you basically the next 6 months of our plan for the CVB and all the important things. I don't even know if you did you get one?
I'm gonna get you over if you don't use the microphone though.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Yeah, I think you know that too. Yes, don't yell at me for not using the microphone. Anyway, so yes, glad to be here, and thank you so much for allowing me to come before you and introduce myself. Really excited to be the executive director, even in spite of all the challenges and the recent history that has been difficult at the least. So when we talk about changing, basically the plan is to direct the CVB to become the premier destination marketing organization for Marathon County, for all of Wausau. Not only for local reference, which will be nice as well for local residents, but also especially to pull in people from the region, from the nation, and from international places as well. And Wausau area has tremendous assets that are attractive to all three groups. So our website is a disaster. It is awful. And I would have, the one thing that's changing about websites now, in that they don't have to be a static site anymore. We're going to integrate social media into the website, so it'll flow from Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter, and all the, any other new avenues, maybe a few TikTok videos as well. And one of the reasons to request these funds is so that we can build a site that really benefits this entire area and is an excellent representation, a great representation of the Wausau area. So if you'll look at some of the things, the first 30 days on this on the sheet that I gave you shows the things that I've done, things that we've been doing and working on right now. And I think I'm celebrating 30 days today maybe. So I've been here for only 30 days, but it seems like I've been here for about 5 years. But we just wanted to hit the ground running and make a lot of changes, but without sacrificing quality. In the first 60 days is when, really the action towards website comes. So as we continue to work on and reinvent the CVB, we'll be reinventing our mission, we'll be reinventing our key characteristics, our critical actions, our story, our brand story of Wausau, and the theme of the CVB. And so with that, we'll drive the design of the website. We're looking at a number of companies. Now, I can build websites myself. I've, worked with ESPN and the NCAA and smaller companies and nonprofits, and I have, I probably built about 300 or 400 websites by myself, and that's all fine and good, but ultimately, we want to have a company that works with us, that knows DMOs, destination marketing organizations. So right now, we're taking presentations to take a look at a variety of companies that will, take us through the process of having an excellent website. One that's, that's tied into analytics, one that has hard data wired into it as a result of visits. The visitwausau.com web URL is a tremendous asset. It's a tremendous asset for us to market and promote the area. And then everything will flow from that website. So it'll be a holding tank for all things Wausau. The other cool thing that we're going to do, and that's a part of the scope of building this website, and you'll see that in the first 60 days, is we are going to, basically create, we're going to use interns to assist in our marketing and online media, social media. We're also going to tie into all the stakeholders in the Wausau area. So one of the features that we're going to build into is a company called Sherpa. And Sherpa has its SHRPA. Sherpa takes social media, and they'll basically, we can create maps of the area. And when I say map, it's an actual social map. So for example, Stevens Point CVB uses Sherpa. They use them to highlight the green circle. And you can go on the CVB website there, which is mobile oriented, of course. That's the other problem. 93% of all people access online stuff with mobile. And so they highlight the green circle trail, and there are 5, featured things that you can do, and you click on each one. It shows picture of that area, so it shows a sculpture garden. It says if it's good for families and kids and for bikes, and what do you need to take there, you bring with you. And just we're gonna do that. But the other cool feature of Sherpa and our website will be that every stakeholder in Wausau will have their own access to our sites. So Granite Peak will be able to put their own content, and it will show up instantaneously on our site. Of course, we'll check it, make sure it's not some kind of crazy thing that happened, But every stakeholder, so Tuckney Coffee down the street there, formerly Patina, they'll be able to take their posts and put them on our website, and they'll say, oh, I can get great coffee here. The lodging, the hoteliers will be able to put things on the website instantaneously. We won't have to chase them down. And then to reinforce that as well, I am creating a organization called marketingwausau.com, where everyone who's involved in marketing in the Wausau area, one will have, here's how you get access to the website, so here's how to create an account, but then also we'll have get-togethers where we'll just get together and talk marketing. We'll meet at different places, have a cup of coffee, have a beer, different times. And you can do marketing at Aspirus, you can do marketing for the city, and you're welcome to come and get together and talk, and we'll work together to create a team of people that really care and want to, provide the input without us having to, chase after people. So we're pretty optimistic of that plan. If we do if we go with this one company, which is doing a final presentation tomorrow, Simple View, they're called, and a lot of DMOs use them. And again, we're looking at all the options, but the process to launch that site would take 7 months, which seems a little long, but I want to do this right. So if it takes them 7 months and we're going to have a site that's like Eau Claire's CVB or Stevens Point or Green Bay or Minocqua, they use Simple View, that's totally fine with me. And we'll do some stopgap marketing. We've already changed some of the things on the web site a little bit. It's hard to, put a Ford F-150 on a Subaru chassis though, so it's there's some challenges to it, but we'll continue to make some stopgap measures. The last thing that I wanted to let you know too is that we are going to provide data and tools to area stakeholders and municipalities that help benefit their strategic planning as well. And so that includes using programs potentially like AirDNA, which basically will showcase all the, the short-term lodging options that are here and give hard data and statistics so you can take a look at their occupancy rates as well and see, who's coming from, what areas as well. Longwoods, which is a cell phone company that basically tracks cell phones travel. So we'll be able to see where customers are coming from. And our goal as a destination marketing organization finally will be to really market outside of the Wisconsin area, to target Chicagoland, the Twin Cities. Those are the big, areas. Like the Travel Wisconsin has provided great statistics and shows where, the variety of people are coming from, and that's where we're going to target our marketing. And not only to market for tourism, but we believe that the CVB is also responsible, has a part to play in recruiting new residents and the workforce. And so as we expand our marketing prowess and to become this premier marketing organization, we will have those goals in mind, and hopefully you'll put more trust in us and come to see us as one of the valuable assets that help Wausau grow. So that's it. Any questions?
Thank you. I guess I would add another key audience, if you will, to try to get to and secure our potential entrepreneurs, people that can, bring things to the table in terms of events, investment, that sort of thing. And, having that be part of your marketing plan, I think is really key too, because you want to make your bag bigger.
Yes, yes.
And that's
I agree.
really important, so.
That's great.
All right. Any questions from the board? Go ahead.
Thank you. Just a couple comments. I like what I hear with regard to the plan and the time frame that it's supposed to unfold in. I think that I see that we definitely have the seeds of a rebuilding of a relationship that's certainly possible here. I think that from conflict can come cooperation and some shared success. I love the idea that you're looking at some interactivity with the website and some real-time updating, because I think part of the key to that is dynamic and timely content, and things that people can interact with, that's important, and that's not been present. I do love the idea of an alliance potentially between CVB and even the Chamber, McDevco, and Greater Wausau. So, and not to say that those things will, always walk hand in hand, but I think if there is a roundtable of organizations that are trying to attract both tourism, workforce, and new residents, I think that there's synergies that can come from all of that. So, with that, I definitely think that, if we were to appropriate that $150,000 to kick this process off, and then we can monitor that success as it starts to unfold, I think that's a plus for us.
And actually, to comment on that too, one of the things is, we are online, we're creating online transparency for the municipalities and for everyone. We're a nonprofit. We have nothing to hide. So our board minutes will go on there. Our executive board is now on there, so you can access that. But we're also going to put our budget on there, and our plans will go on there. They won't be easy to get to. We'll send you a link. I don't want tourists to come in and go, oh, let me look around here. I don't want them to get muddled in that kind of stuff. But for the municipalities and other stakeholders, we're committed to transparency, communication, collaboration. That's how we all win.
Our commission here is in no position to micromanage or anything like that, but we really would appreciate ongoing report backs. Just come and visit, and a little update on strategies and tactics and results, that sort of thing. Because we might have a question, might have a suggestion, whatever. But when everybody shares resources and shares audiences and knowledge and whatnot, it can only be a win-win. So I think that would be a good thing if we had that kind of regular.
Yeah, and a shout out to our mayor and to our finance director. They have been so helpful and such a great resource in helping guide us as well, and we really appreciate them. So
Very good. Anything else from members?
I'll move to approve the $150,000.
Thank you for that motion. Do I have a second? I have a second from Martins. Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. And item number 3, discussion and possible action regarding tourism grants. Director Grove?
Yeah, I thought since we were meeting, I would put this on the agenda. I see that I put in the old application, though. If you go to eligible applicants, we had modified this to say event is located in or near the city of Wausau and offers verifiable economic benefits to the city of Wausau through increased room nights. So that is the one that's on the website. This is an old one that I just picked up from a folder. But I have had some feedback. Occasionally I get feedback from events that feel that the tourism, using it for marketing is too restrictive. But, the law is pretty clear about what we can spend the money on. And so in looking at the law, I don't really think that there's a lot of flexibility. It really is on marketing, and tourist informational services, recruiting conventions and sporting events and motor coach groups. That's really what the law says you can use it on, not, paying for a bus service or a beer vendor or something like that. And then also tangible municipal development. So I don't really think that we can expand that. One thought I had, and I've also received feedback on this, is, you want it to be a competitive process. And so I think, to not just have it open all the time, but maybe doing it 3 times a year, because we do see new events come, let's say in the, early spring, people conceive of things, and they have to basically wait until fall then to apply. So I didn't know if you wanted to open something up in May or something like that. But, yeah, and, certainly we could look at the dollar amount if you wanted to, or something like that. But I thought it would just give the commission opportunity to talk about it today.
I think that's a good idea. One thing, the first thing that popped in my mind that when you said that though was, if we've got a pie to divvy up, how do we spread that across 3,
Periods.
processes? And is it just, cut into 3s, or is it, weighted towards the front end because that's where we tend to have more activity, from requesters and that kind of thing? And that third one might be sort of like the leftovers, or I don't know. Maybe we need to just kind of look at history and throw that around, but that's the first thing that came to mind for me. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. I could see a mid-year cycle, just because it is a long time to wait till fall, and you're kind of at the end of the event season so you're looking at winter events basically then, or things that have already happened. So, I think maybe to push that back, if we're going to add a third one, to add that, more at the cusp of the event season. I mean, if we're going to do that early spring cycle, if that's happening like February or March, if we open something up in May, and then maybe have the tail end of it in the fall, just in case we have appropriations or funds that have come in, say we have a more robust year for room tax than what we expected, we might be able to facilitate some year-end type things, or early spring things that, we would know would be coming up early in that next, like the winter type stuff. So I certainly could see that. I would not be a fan of changing the criteria to open it up to let grant recipients use the funds for things that do not generate room nights. That's part of the problem we've had historically, not so much in Wausau, but in other communities. But, we also know that some of the continuing appropriations entities that are receiving funds still from the Finance Committee out of our retainage, some of that is going to overhead. We know that. And I think that, while that happens, and that's an old practice, I certainly don't think we want any more of it. And so, I think that if we confine our grants to things like marketing and tourism, then it's, impossible for us to run afoul of the new law. So I think we should stay the course with our requirements and what we intend people to spend our money on, because I think it's a sound practice. So, but I could certainly live with a third cycle.
From speaking from the hotel side, and the tourism as a whole, I would say there's definitely 3 seasons that provide different levels of demand in our market, and sometimes ideas come about rather quickly, and I can see value in the agility that we'd be able to offer some of those folks, and maybe some new opportunities sparked. So the 3rd season piece, I think, has definite validity from that side, and absolutely am in favor of some of those groups that maybe have questioned, overhead or operating costs. I think something that I've been thinking about, because we see a lot of the same folks come through, and I want to believe that's because they see value, and hopefully that means that it's generating more revenue, more people being introduced to our market and experiencing tourism and generating tourism dollars. But maybe some of those folks, if we can how do people become more aware of the process, and how do we help educate them on the opportunities? I think that it lies more in education than changing the criteria.
Do you see, and I'm sure you probably do, throughout, your given year, not a pandemic year, but a regular old year, what times of the year our room tax dollars maybe not as important because things are going to be pretty full up anyways? And at what times of the year do we have dips that we would like to bolster up? And is that a way that we should also be looking at our, like 3 times a year, this time of year maybe might be where we have to punch more in because it suffers more or whatever. So thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. First quarter, we've got an amazing resource in Granite Peak, and operator that continues to invest and believe in what they have to offer up there. And we definitely, the entire Wausau area is a huge benefactor. So, for sure, first quarter has some it's well taken care of. There is still room in there though to get other folks here and experience our area. You have that kind of that tween piece. Your May time is a little bit softer. April, that weird time. Things are thawing out, and then you've got Thanksgiving and there's travel, but that end of October through the beginning of December is always going to be a little bit again softer. So I mean, there's times where that if something is taking place in that time, or we can fill those gaps, would definitely round things out on a calendar year.
Okay, thank you. Alder Rasmussen?
Thank you. One other thing that we always look for too, and I think it's important for us as we, put the information out there for people to apply, is that we always add score points for things that are new, unique, and unduplicated. And so while we know that there are events in our area that are regional favorites that do draw room nights, if there are new and unique things that people have not experienced yet here that may bring different people to the community, we certainly want to see that as well. And I think that was part of the reason we opened up the qualification criteria to be a little wider zone, because at one point there was a car show we could not help out that would have probably filled our hotels. So, I think we're looking for those things that are not tired and duplicative.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, I'll just, the shoehorn on here and just say, yeah, I think a third deadline is something we really need, because we've run into this previously in the last 2 cycles where grants would come in after the fact because they wanted to get a share of room tax funding for their program, for their event, but because of the way the cycles ran, it hit our desks almost, as the event was about to occur or after it occurred. So definitely, if the deadlines can be sort of tweaked so that they kind of, are far enough in advance to sort of, maybe bolster the shoulder seasons a little bit, the late spring and the late fall, which tend to be, just for our area, softer times. But I would totally agree for that. And with changing the criteria, I'm not really too keen on making it more open for different types of funding. But I think we need to focus, what this is for is marketing and advertising.
And just another piece to add too is I think we're so accustomed to hearing about events, whether it's a festival or something else that is just it's finite, that we may not know that we have a need until 6 months out. And somebody may bring something to the table that is a little bit more holistic in terms of tourism, about defining a span of time. I think about Door County does a fantastic job on that, I believe, as a region, filling those spot gaps. So we might find, those opportunities come about too. It may not be an event, but it might be a different tourism avenue.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's one thing to have an event, it's another thing to have like an ongoing attraction. You look at, Rib Mountain in the summer, and, people might go up and go ooh, ah, and take a look around. But, if somehow we secured somebody to come in and put in one of those rail sled systems going down, that would be an attraction, all summer long.
Yeah,
and into
fishing.
the fall.
Fishing, we've got some of
Yes.
the best muskie fishing.
Right.
5 miles north of here. You don't.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of things that even as industry or segments within the tourism piece that
Right.
might come about.
I think that, the CVB would beholden to look at things like, like that alpine, sled thing on a rail that I would never go on. But, from your standpoint, you would be like, we know who makes those things, and we're going to talk to them about Rib Mountain, Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Again, going back to what you were talking about with entrepreneurs, right? So if we can act as a catalyst, so I really don't think our job is to create our own events that we run anymore. I really think that day is over. Our role is to empower people from the area who want to do some amazing things. We just talked actually about a bass fishing tournament and where we would do that with one of the top bass, anglers, and how we could help them. Not only do you have the grant money to be able to give to something like that, but there's also GEM grant money, which is the tourism, the state tourism, and that goes on the same premise of, they'll fund 75% and then 30 and then, or 60 and, I don't know, what is it? I don't know, it goes down, probably like what your grant does. But so if we can be a catalyst and an incubator for people in the area to start things and do things, just like, we'll come around them and help support them too. So, yeah, great idea.
Thank you. Alder Rasmussen?
Thank you. One other thing I think that we had some success for, at least even under the old arrangement, was Sports Authority. And we were skeptical about the notion of marketing the area for sports tournaments, but, whether it was everything from, boat racing to baseball to hockey, I think that events that occur in series, even if you could pick up a series of events, that happens at different points during the summer, I think that is, stuff also that we still want to talk about in the outreach and the marketing for that. So, I think first reserving our ability as a commission to still give grants locally and not put all of our eggs in one marketing basket, but, also recognizing that our application allows for a whole host of ideas, and, people are really limited only by, their own imagination as far as what type of event they want to ask us about. And, obviously, we're willing to consider any and all. So, they may not all qualify, but we certainly want to hear about it. That's, I think, the message we want out in the community when the applications go live, basically.
Mr. Martins?
I guess, I have a question, is that, in this discussion, are we considering opening up this grant then to market attractions or more intangible kind of seasonal things that you find in the area?
I would certainly see that as something that's intrinsic to what we're trying to accomplish.
Because there's really, in the eligible projects, there's really nothing that says attraction or
No.
or things like that, or
It could be marketing a season.
season, or,
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody could come together with a credible plan of marketing autumn in Wausau, maybe we should allow that as something eligible for a grant.
Right.
I think for the city to use this component of room tax for, let's say, the slide thing at Granite Peak, maybe because that's a state property you could, but the law is very clear that it has to be a municipal development, like a convention center. So, we couldn't build something on private property and fund that. But we could definitely help promote that new thing.
Correct.
So in our eligibility, should we have verbiage to the effect that in addition to events, that we're also interested in, concepts, seasons, regional attractions, venues? Should we have, a little longer list there? And, let people bring their requests, and then we get to decide yes or no.
I think that's a must.
And
Sure, come on up to the mic, please.
Thanks. Another thing, too, that piggybacks on that, we've been talking about marketing groups of events, right? So packaging events, and if you're saying fall, right, we're marketing fall in Wausau, and then we'd market all the things that are happening as a part of it. So we're realizing that we need to create this package so that this is a destination for visitors to come to and go, oh, gosh, Wausau's, maybe I should live here and work here. So, yeah, packaging things.
Director, I've just asked you one question. if you were to pick a similar-sized community to ours and similar geographic and demographic and whatever, that you think is really doing it well, that we could probably, relate to, what community might that be?
In Wisconsin or outside of Wisconsin?
Both, sure.
Other than Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, and they're I would say Eau Claire is probably on par with about the size and the way that they've, they're doing a good job marketing, and they're pulling in, traffic from the Twin Cities as well. I think La Crosse is doing a pretty good job, and they're kind of similar in size. So those two, we've looked at, the way that they're doing things. Of course, we're going to continue to communicate with them, get together. I'm on the board of Destination Wisconsin, which is a board of executive directors in the state, and so we get together every quarter, which is great. So, but I think, again, some of the things that they're doing and packaging things, we can take note of. And, even though Door County is its own weird thing like the Dells is, I like what Door County does when they and I actually like what the Twin Cities does as well, because I lived in the Twin Cities. They don't let winter stop them from doing things. You know what I mean? So they create events and festivals. I think of, like, in Door County, the Fire Festival, FYRE, which is this outdoor thing where they're burning wood, and drinking, and just, it's another reason to do something. So I think if we, can help people here create, if we can help create a vision for them to go, okay, what can we do here? And again, that marketing get-together organization, I expect that to be an incubator of sorts as well. So, yeah. But I would say those are the two main areas, Eau Claire and La Crosse.
I've always said a great event, if it's got fire, it's just even greater.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else from the commission? No? Well, we really don't have action per se on this item, other than to throw out some wish list and some tactical thoughts and whatnot, so there's nothing really to vote on per se. So I would just say we've gone through our agenda and would welcome a motion to adjourn.
Do we want to select a third period? I could reach out to the CVB and to some of our current recipients to see if they have suggestions for maybe the timing, because we could move the February, the February and August was a historical date that we've used, since I've
Sure.
been working for the city. I could, look for feedback from the groups, or, I don't really know how to change it, but it seems like, a March or April period, even though it's close to the February, is right, because that's when people are thinking of this last-minute summer events.
I agree. I think that especially if people have to advertise and promote, if an
Yeah.
event is happening early summer, they should be at it at that point or about to be. So, yeah, even if it would seem like they're closer than you might want them, it would make sense. Because I think often if we have that February cycle, 8 weeks down the road, then people are coming with ideas, and it would be good to be able to
Right.
grab that.
And also, as they maybe are looking for funding from other organizations or individuals, for them to have something in their back pocket, like we already have talked to the city who have, allotted us, X dollars for marketing. So that could say, oh, that seems like you got the ball rolling there. So, sure,
Well, so, Mary Ann, that's a really good point. I have data on my table right now, on my desk office, that shows when the low points of events are in Wausau, when the low point of room occupancy is, as well as how far out they book the rooms. So we can tell about 30 to 40 days on average is when people book in advance. So and a lot of other data, so we can take a look at the data and kind of give you some insight as to what would be good deadlines, that would precede that, so.
Okay.
Was there something in the February one? Was there, I can't remember why we picked that date, but
do you think it's we could be pushed back to January or something, or?
definitely, yeah. I don't know. I was just wondering if there was that pin, that was pinned for something.
Yeah. I would suggest one thing, because we are in a transitional period, if you will. We're kind of taking a new look at things, and to force ourselves to wait to meet again until February, why not just, let's maybe if we can do it, plan for January instead. Kind of get a little bit of a jump on the year. Then we can look at that second period, what's the, after looking at that data, and whatnot, what might be the ideal sweet spot for that, and then is August, ideal? So,
Yeah, I mean, at random, I have the 15th of April, right? Not that we're voting on anything, but just, we'd be through first quarter, we'd know what we collected. August 15th, and then December. Just trying to see when a lot of organizations set their strategic plan, going into what they need in order to support that vision. I think that some of those pieces, where can we find alignment with those to help support that and maximize the investment, which is what we really want that to be called, our tourism dollars, the investment. So I get some more information around that. But I do agree. I think if we're going to open up a season, we should probably take a look at any changes we want to make, get that rolled out so people are prepared to be able to participate appropriately.
Right.
So, yeah, January might be the best.
well, I would propose that we meet in January. We could set a date, via canvassing members
Okay.
via email, so we can zero in on a likely date and go from there. And of course, make sure that is in a timely manner communicated to our audience
Yep.
of typical and even potential requesters.
Okay. All right, I can do that.
Okay. Anything
Happy
further?
to.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn. And a second?
Second?
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.